The call came at exactly 3:47 a.m. Mom had collapsed in the bathroom, and my sister Charlotte's voice trembled as she told me to get to the hospital right away. I remember staring at my reflection in the elevator mirrors of Mount Sinai, still wearing my presentation clothes from earlier that evening. The irony wasn't lost on me. I just closed the biggest deal of my career, and now everything else seemed meaningless. I'm Denise, and until that night, I thought I had it all figured out. My tech company, Morrison Digital, was finally hitting its stride after 5 years of sleepless nights and maxed out credit cards. We'd grown from a team of 3 working out of my garage to 65 employees in downtown Manhattan. But life has a way of reminding you what really matters. I stepped into the hospital hallway, my heart pounding as I dialed his number. His first words made my blood run cold. "Denise, I think Marcus is selling the company." I gripped the phone tighter, watching a nurse wheel another patient past me. "That's impossible. He doesn't have the authority to—" "Check your email," Julio cut in. "Now." As I opened my inbox, I saw it. A company-wide announcement from Marcus Lynch. Subject line, Morrison Digital Acquisition Announcement. The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. I'd trusted family, and family had just betrayed me in the worst possible way. I burst into the Morrison Digital offices like a storm, my heels clicking against the marble floor of our lobby. The security guard, Mike, who'd worked with me since day one, couldn't meet my eyes as I passed. That's when I knew it was real. "Where is he?" I demanded at the reception desk. "Ms. Denise." Our receptionist Amy jumped up. "We didn't expect— Mr. Marcus is in his office." My office, my company, my life's work. I didn't bother knocking. Marcus sat behind my desk, my grandfather's restored mahogany desk, looking perfectly at ease in his tailored suit. He barely glanced up from his laptop. "Ah, Denise, I was wondering when you'd show up." "What have you done?" My voice came out surprisingly steady despite the rage burning in my chest. He finally looked at me, his lips curving into that smug smile I'd always ignored for Charlotte's sake. "I made a strategic business decision. The acquisition will be finalized next week. The shareholders are thrilled." "You had no right—" "Actually," he cut in, pulling out a document from his drawer, "I had every right. Remember this?" He slid the paper across the desk. "You signed full temporary executive powers over to me, including, as clearly stated in Section 4.3, the authority to negotiate potential sales or mergers." I snatched up the document, scanning the fine print I'd foolishly skimmed while rushing to get to Mom's bedside. He was right. I'd signed away everything. "How much?" I demanded. "The deal values the company at $47 million. He leaned back, looking pleased with himself. "Quite a nice return on investment, wouldn't you say?" "It's worth 3 times that." I slammed my hands on the desk. "We just landed the Vertex contract. Our projections were optimistic at best," he interrupted. "Besides, the deal's done. The board voted yesterday." A knock at the door interrupted us. Julio entered, his face grim. "Denise, I tried to warn you." "It's fine, Julio," I said, not taking my eyes off Marcus. "Could you give us a minute?" Once the door closed, Marcus's facade cracked slightly. "Look, it's nothing personal. It's just business." "Nothing personal?" I laughed bitterly. "You're my sister's husband. Your family. I trusted you to protect what I built while I took care of our mother, your mother-in-law." He shrugged. "The market's volatile. This was the smart play." "Who bought us?" "That's confidential until the announcement." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Does Charlotte know?" His silence was answer enough. In the hallway, Julio was waiting with Christine. Their faces showed a mix of anger and sympathy that made my throat tight. "Come to my place tonight," Christine whispered. "We need to talk." Back at the hospital, I found Charlotte sitting with Mom, who was finally sleeping peacefully. My sister took one look at my face and knew. "What did he do?" she asked quietly. I told her everything. She listened in silence, tears streaming down her face. "I had no idea," she whispered. "I swear, Denise, he never said anything." "I know." I hugged her tightly. "This isn't your fault." That evening, I drove to Christine's apartment, my mind racing with possibilities for fighting back. But when she opened her door, I wasn't prepared for who else was there. Julio sat at Christine's dining table with a stack of files. Next to him was Allison, one of our top project managers. But it was the man standing by the window that made me freeze. Cruz Kennedy, my oldest friend turned fierce competitor. We hadn't spoken in years, not since that disastrous attempt to merge our companies had ended in a very public falling out. "Hello, Denise," he said softly. "I heard you could use some help taking down Marcus Lynch." "She's stable now," the doctor said, his words echoing in the sterile hallway. "But the cancer has spread more aggressively than we initially thought. She'll need round-the-clock care for the next few months." Charlotte grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. Her husband Marcus stood behind her, his face a mask of concern. "I'd take care of her myself," Charlotte whispered, "but with the twins—" "I know," I said, squeezing back. "I'll do it." Christine closed the door behind me. "Before you say no, hear us out. We found something interesting in these files." Julio slid a document across the table. "Marcus has been planning this for months. Look at the dates on these emails." I scanned the correspondence, my hands shaking with fury. He'd started negotiating the sale just 2 weeks after I left. "There's more," Allison added. "He's been siphoning company resources into his own ventures for weeks. I've been tracking the irregularities." "The question is," Cruz said, moving closer, "what are you going to do about it?" I looked up at my unlikely allies, a plan already forming in my mind. "I'm going to take everything from him," I said, "just like he took everything from me." Cruz smiled, that dangerous smile I remembered so well. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." "Marcus's company is vulnerable," Cruz explained, spreading documents across Christine's dining table. "He's been so focused on stealing your company that he's neglected his own. His board is unhappy, and his biggest clients are getting restless." I studied the financial reports Julio had somehow obtained. "These numbers don't make sense. Where's all the money going?" "That's the interesting part," Allison chimed in, pulling up spreadsheets on her laptop. "He's been investing heavily in crypto and some questionable offshore ventures. Classic signs of someone trying to hide money." "Or someone preparing to run," Christine added. Cruz leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Here's what you need to know, Denise. Marcus's company is worth roughly $80 million, but its stock is undervalued. With the right strategy, we could acquire it for less than what he's getting for Morrison Digital." "And how exactly would I afford that?" I asked bitterly. "He's taken everything." "You have me," Cruz said simply, "and my resources." I raised an eyebrow. "Last time we tried working together, it ended with you threatening to sue me." "That was business," he shrugged. "This is personal. Marcus has been a thorn in my side for years. Taking him down would be satisfying." "We'd need to move fast," Julio interrupted, "before he realizes what's happening." Christine touched my arm. "There's something else you should know. I've been talking to some of Marcus's employees. They're miserable. He's cut benefits, frozen salaries, and created a toxic work environment. They'd jump ship in a heartbeat for the right opportunity." My phone buzzed. A text from Charlotte. "He's asking questions about your meeting with Cruz. Be careful." "He's already suspicious," I said, showing them the message. Cruz smiled. "Good. Let him waste time chasing shadows while we do the real work. I've already set up a shell company for the acquisition. Everything will be anonymous until it's too late." "What's your angle here, Cruz?" I asked directly. "Really?" He was quiet for a moment, then pulled out his phone and showed me an old email. 3 years ago, Marcus cost me a $200 million deal by spreading rumors about my company's stability. It took me months to recover. I've been waiting for the right moment to return the favor. "So this is about revenge for both of us." "Justice," he corrected, "with a healthy dose of karma." We worked late into the night, plotting our strategy. Allison would stay in Marcus's company, feeding us information. Julio would quietly reach out to key employees we'd want to keep. Christine would handle the PR groundwork for when everything went public. Around midnight, Cruz and I found ourselves alone on Christine's balcony, the city lights twinkling below. "You know this won't be easy," he said softly. "Or clean." "I'm past caring about clean," I replied. "He didn't just steal my company, Cruz. He betrayed my trust when I was taking care of our dying mother. That's unforgivable." "How is she?" "Better, actually. The new treatment's working." I turned to face him. "Why did we stop being friends?" He laughed. "Because we're both stubborn and terrible at admitting when we're wrong?" I was wrong, I said quietly. About the merger. You were right. We would have been stronger together. That's when Marcus cleared his throat. What about the company? I'd been avoiding that thought. Running Morrison Digital was like raising a child. It needed constant attention, nurturing, and guidance. But looking through the window at Mom's frail figure in the hospital bed, I knew there was only one choice: ancient history. He pulled out his phone, showing me another document. Look at this. Marcus's company has a board meeting next week. They're discussing a major restructuring. Perfect timing for a takeover bid? Exactly, but we'll need to move fast. He hesitated. There's one more thing. Your sister... Charlotte knows what we're planning, I assured him. She's the one who told me about the board meeting. Just then, my phone rang. It was Marcus. Put it on speaker, Cruz whispered. Hello, Marcus. Had an interesting dinner with some investors tonight, he said, his voice dripping with false casualness. They mentioned seeing you with Cruz Kennedy. Anything I should know? Just catching up with an old friend, I replied smoothly. Why, feeling nervous? Don't play games, Denise. Whatever you're planning. Like you planned to steal my company while I was caring for our mother. Goodbye, Marcus. I hung up, my hands shaking slightly. He's scared, Cruz observed. Good. Fear makes people sloppy. How soon can we move? He checked his watch. Give me 48 hours to get the financing in place. Then we go all in. I looked out at the city, thinking of all the nights I'd spent building my company, all the sacrifices, all the dreams. Marcus had taken that from me. Now I was going to take everything from him. 48 hours, I agreed. Then we destroy him. He's calling another emergency board meeting. Allison whispered into her phone, hiding in the supply closet of Marcus's company. Something's got him spooked. I paced Cruz's office, phone pressed to my ear. What else? He's been making calls all morning. Lots of them. And he just fired 2 senior managers for disloyalty. People are terrified. Perfect timing, Cruz said from his desk, where he was reviewing acquisition documents. Fear creates opportunity. After hanging up with Allison, I turned to Cruz. How many of his employees have reached out? 27 so far, he replied, sliding a folder across his desk, including 3 vice presidents. They're all willing to jump ship the moment we take over. A knock at the door interrupted us. Christine entered with Julio, both looking excited. We found something big, Christine announced, plugging a flash drive into Cruz's laptop. Marcus has been falsifying reports to his board. The company's actual value is nearly 30% lower than what he's reporting. Julio pointed to specific numbers on the screen. Look here. He's been counting future contracts as current assets. Classic cooking of the books. This is exactly what we need, Cruz said, studying the data. With this information, we can force the board's hand. They'll have no choice but to accept our offer once they realize the alternative is a fraud investigation. My phone buzzed. Charlotte again. Marcus just left for an emergency meeting. He was yelling about Cruz on the phone. What's happening? He's panicking, I told the others, showing them the message. But why now? We haven't even made our move yet. Cruz smiled mysteriously. Actually, we have. I had my team start quietly buying shares through various shell companies last week. We already own 12% of his company. You didn't tell me that. Plausible deniability. He shrugged. Besides, I knew you'd try to stop me if I moved too fast. He's right, Julio agreed. The element of surprise is our biggest advantage. Christine's phone chimed. Allison says Marcus is calling all his major shareholders. He's trying to block any potential hostile takeover. Too late, Cruz said, checking his watch. The trading day's almost over, and we've already secured commitments from enough shareholders to push us over 30% ownership. I sat down heavily in one of Cruz's leather chairs. This is really happening, isn't it? Having second thoughts? Cruz asked quietly. No, I said firmly, just remembering something my mother told me once. Success is the best revenge, but make sure the price of revenge doesn't cost you your success. How is she doing? Christine asked softly. Better every day. The doctors are optimistic. I stood up, renewed determination flowing through me. Which is why this has to work. I want her to see justice done. I'll need someone to oversee operations while I'm gone, I said, turning to face Marcus. He was family, after all. My brother-in-law had his own successful business ventures, and Charlotte trusted him completely. Would you consider stepping in temporarily? His eyes lit up, though he tried to hide it. Of course, anything for family. I'll make sure everything runs smoothly. Julio's phone buzzed this time. It's happening. Marcus just announced layoffs. 20% of the workforce effective immediately. He's trying to cut costs to make the company look more profitable, Cruz explained. Classic desperate move. Those poor people, Christine muttered. Not poor for long, I said. Call everyone on our contact list. Tell them to be ready. Once we take over, they'll all have positions waiting for them, with better pay and benefits. Cruz nodded approvingly. This is why you're better at this than Marcus. You understand that companies are built on people, not just profits. Another knock at the door. This time it was Charlotte, looking pale but determined. I just left Marcus at his office, she said. He's completely unraveled. He knows something's coming, but he can't figure out what. He actually accused me of spying for you. Are you okay? I asked, hugging her. I'm fine, but I found these in his home office. She pulled out a stack of papers. They're records of all the money he's been moving offshore. Millions of dollars, Denise. Some of it from your company. Cruz took the documents, his eyes widening as he read. This is better than we hoped. With this evidence, we can force an immediate board vote. Do it, I said firmly. He picked up his phone, dialing quickly. Janet, call the board members. Emergency meeting tomorrow morning. Tell them we have evidence of serious financial misconduct. Yes, all of it documented. As Cruz handled the calls, I looked around at my unlikely team. My sister, my old friend, my loyal employees, all united in this cause. Tomorrow morning, Cruz announced, hanging up. 9 a.m. The board will vote on our acquisition offer. And with this evidence, he held up Charlotte's documents. They'll have no choice but to accept. I checked my phone one last time. A message from Allison. Marcus just left the office. He looks destroyed. Whatever you're planning, it's working. Get some rest, Cruz advised everyone. Tomorrow we take everything back. The boardroom of Marcus's company felt like a powder keg waiting to explode. I sat between Cruz and Christine, watching Marcus pace at the head of the table. His usual polished appearance was noticeably disheveled, his tie slightly askew, dark circles under his eyes. This meeting is unnecessary, Marcus announced, his voice strained. Our company is performing exceptionally well. Is it? One of the board members, an elderly woman named Patricia, interrupted, because these documents suggest otherwise. She held up the file Cruz's team had distributed minutes earlier. Those numbers are, Marcus started. Accurate, Cruz cut in smoothly, standing up. And there's more. We've uncovered evidence of systematic financial misconduct, including unauthorized offshore transfers and falsified earnings reports. The board members began murmuring among themselves. I could see the color draining from Marcus's face. Who exactly are you to make these accusations? Marcus demanded. Cruz smiled. As of this morning, our investment group owns 34% of your company's shares, and we're here to present an acquisition offer. This is ridiculous, Marcus sputtered. You can't. Actually, we can, I said, standing up beside Cruz. And we have proof of every illegal transaction you've made in the past 6 months, including the money you embezzled from Morrison Digital. Marcus's eyes widened as he finally understood. You're behind this? Karma's a bitter pill, isn't it? I kept my voice steady, professional. Now, shall we discuss the terms of our offer? The next 2 hours were a blur of presentations, questions, and increasingly heated discussions. Cruz laid out our proposal while I watched Marcus slowly crumble. Every time he tried to object, another board member would point to another damning piece of evidence. This is the best option for everyone, Cruz explained. Our offer is fair, considering the company's actual value, and we're prepared to protect all current employees' positions. The next morning, I called an emergency meeting with my executive team. Julio, my head of operations, looked particularly concerned. 3 months is a long time, Denise. Are you sure about this? Marcus knows what he's doing, I assured them, though something in my gut twisted as I said it. He'll consult me on any major decisions. Nothing will change. Except yours, of course, I added, looking directly at Marcus. Patricia cleared her throat. I move that we vote on the acquisition offer immediately. I second that motion, another board member quickly added. Marcus made one last desperate attempt. You can't trust them. This is a personal vendetta. Denise is just angry about... About you stealing my company while I was caring for my dying mother? I interrupted. Yes, I am. But this isn't about anger, Marcus. This is about justice. The vote was unanimous. Marcus stood frozen as his board members signed the preliminary acquisition agreement one by one. You'll be hearing from my lawyers, he threatened weakly. I look forward to it, Cruz replied. I'm sure they'll be very interested in these offshore account records. As the board members filed out, Allison slipped into the room. The employees are gathering in the main conference room as requested. Perfect timing, I said. Ready to address your new team? Cruz gestured to the door. Ladies first. The main conference room was packed with nervous employees. I recognized many faces from my research. Talented people Marcus had undervalued and mistreated. Good morning, I began, standing at the front of the room. My name is Denise, and as of 15 minutes ago, I'm your new CEO. The room erupted in whispers. I know many of you are worried about your jobs. Don't be. Not only are all positions secure, but we're also reinstating the benefits Marcus cut and reviewing all salaries to ensure fair compensation. The tension in the room visibly lifted. One more thing, I continued. We're implementing an employee stock ownership program. Everyone in this room will have the opportunity to own a piece of this company's future success. The whispers turned to murmurs of approval. Ms. Denise? A young programmer raised his hand. What about our current projects? All viable projects will continue, Cruz answered from beside me, but with proper resources and support this time. After the announcement, Christine pulled me aside. Marcus is in his office packing his things. Charlotte's with him. I found them in what used to be Marcus's corner office. Charlotte stood by the window while Marcus shoved items into a box. Come to gloat? He snapped when he saw me. No, I replied calmly. I came to give you this. I handed him an envelope. He opened it, his hands shaking slightly. What is this? A chance to avoid prosecution, I explained. Sign over any remaining claims to Morrison Digital, and we won't pursue legal action for the fraud. Charlotte turned from the window. Take the deal, Marcus. It's more than you deserve. He looked between us, defeat finally settling over his features. Without a word, he signed the papers. As he walked past me toward the door, he paused. You've destroyed everything I built. No, Marcus, you did that yourself. I just finished what you started. After he left, Charlotte hugged me tightly. It's really over? Almost, I said, looking around at what would soon be my new office. We still have to rebuild, but this time, we'll do it right. He's been spotted at the airport, Julio reported, bursting into my new office. Private terminal. I looked up from the stack of financial records I'd been reviewing. Is he alone? No, he's with some guy in a suit. Looks like a lawyer. Cruz, who'd been reviewing contracts at my conference table, immediately pulled out his phone. I'll alert our legal team. He's probably trying to move the offshore money. Too late, Christine said, walking in with her laptop. I just got confirmation from our banking contacts. The accounts are frozen pending investigation. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, a strange heaviness settled in my chest. Has anyone heard from Charlotte? She's at your mom's, Christine replied softly. Said she needed some time? My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You'll regret this. Watch your back, M. Cruz read the message over my shoulder and immediately called security. Double the guards at all entrances and get someone to trace that number. He's desperate, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Desperate people do stupid things. Ms. Denise? Allison appeared at the door. The development team is waiting for the project review meeting. Right. I stood up, straightening my jacket. Back to actually running a company. The meeting room was packed with developers, all looking nervous but hopeful. As I listened to their project presentations, I couldn't help but notice how many good ideas Marcus had shot down. After the meeting, Christine, my closest friend on the board, pulled me aside. I don't trust him, she said bluntly. Something about Marcus has always felt off. I sighed, gathering papers from the conference table. He's family, Christine. What's the worst that could happen? Just be careful, she warned. Keep tabs on things. This mobile payment system, I pointed to one proposal. Why wasn't this implemented? A young developer named Sarah raised her hand. Mr. Marcus said it was too risky. But honestly, we think he was selling our payment processing data to competitors. More evidence of Marcus's betrayals. The list kept growing. Halfway through the meeting, Cruz slipped me a note. Marcus boarded a flight to Cayman Islands. Legal team en route to intercept. I managed to keep my focus on the presentations, but my mind was racing. What else had Marcus done that we hadn't discovered yet? After the meeting, I found Julio waiting with more news. We found something in the server logs. Marcus accessed sensitive client data last night. Downloaded everything. Get it to revoke all his access immediately, I ordered, and contact every client on that list. They need to know their data might be compromised. Already done, he assured me. But there's something else. Remember that crypto investment we couldn't trace? It was used to buy shares in our biggest competitor. I leaned against my desk, the pieces clicking together. He's trying to orchestrate a counterattack. That's not all, Christine added, walking in with a stack of papers. Look at these emails we recovered. He's been in contact with several board members from Morrison Digital, promising them positions if he regains control. Can he do that? Julio asked. Cruz shook his head. Not legally, but he could cause enough chaos to tank both companies' stock prices. My phone rang. Charlotte. Denise, her voice was shaking. Marcus just called Mom. He told her everything. About stealing the company, about the fraud, everything. He's trying to turn her against you. I gripped the phone tighter. How did she take it? She wants to see you. Now. The drive to the hospital felt endless. I found Mom sitting up in bed, looking stronger than she had in weeks. Charlotte sat beside her, holding her hand. Is it true? Mom asked as I entered. Everything Marcus said? I took a deep breath. About what he did to my company? Yes. About what I did in response? Probably not. He said you destroyed him out of spite. I took back what he stole, I corrected, and stopped him from hurting more people. Mom was quiet for a moment. Your father always said revenge was a poison that kills the holder first. This isn't just about revenge, I insisted. It's about justice, about protecting people's jobs, their futures. And your soul? She asked softly. What's this doing to that? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with an urgent message from Cruz. Marcus just leaked confidential client data to the press. Stock is dropping. Get back here now. I have to go, I said, already heading for the door. Denise, Mom called after me. Remember who you are, not who he made you become. In the car, another message flashed on my phone, this time from Marcus. Hope you enjoyed your victory. Now watch it all burn. I called Cruz. How bad is it? Bad. He replied grimly. He's trying to start a fire. Question is, are we going to fight fire with fire or find another way? I thought of Mom's words as I sped back to the office. The line between justice and revenge was blurring, and I wasn't sure which side I was on anymore. The office was in chaos when I arrived. Phones ringing everywhere, people rushing between desks, the constant ping of urgent messages. Stocks down 18%, Cruz announced as I walked in. Media's having a field day with the leaked data. Where's Marcus now? The next few weeks were a blur of hospital rooms, medication schedules, and late-night phone calls with Marcus about the company. Each time, he assured me everything was better than ever. But something in his tone made me uneasy. One evening, as I sat beside Mom's bed helping her with dinner, my phone buzzed with a text from Julio. We need to talk. Something's not right here. Before I could respond, Marcus called. Great news. His voice boomed through the speaker. We're seeing record profits this quarter. You don't need to worry about anything. That's surprising, I said, thinking about Julio's message. Send me the reports? Of course, they're just being finalized. I'll have them to you soon. I hung up and stared at my phone, that uneasy feeling growing stronger. Mom must have noticed my expression because she reached out and touched my hand. Trust your instincts, sweetheart, she said softly. They've never steered you wrong before. I nodded, but I was already thinking about the stack of documents I'd signed before leaving, giving Marcus temporary control. I'd trusted family over instinct, and something told me I was about to learn exactly how much that trust would cost me. The next morning, another text from Julio. Urgent. Call me ASAP. Still in Cayman Islands, Julio reported, but he's been doing interviews claiming we orchestrated a hostile takeover and forced him out illegally. I grabbed the remote and turned on the wall-mounted TV. There he was, looking perfectly composed in an expensive suit, playing the victim. Systematic campaign to destroy my reputation, Marcus was saying. They exploited my family connections, used private information against me. Turn it off, I snapped. Get me our PR team. Christine was already on it. They're drafting a statement, but Marcus is controlling the narrative. We need something bigger. What about the employees? I asked. Scared, Allison replied. The leaked data included personal information. They're worried about identity theft, reputation damage. I looked around at the worried faces of my team. This wasn't just about me anymore. Marcus was hurting innocent people to get his revenge. Get everyone in the main conference room, I decided. Now. As the employees filed in, I noticed their nervous whispers, their concerned glances at their phones. These people had trusted me, and now they were paying the price. I know you're scared, I began. Marcus has betrayed not just the company, but each of you personally. He's trying to destroy what we're building here out of spite. The room was dead silent. But here's what he doesn't understand, I continued. A company isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet or data in a server. It's people. It's all of you. I nodded to Cruz, who started distributing documents. What you're receiving is a new employment contract. It includes an immediate 10% raise, comprehensive identity theft protection, and legal support for anyone affected by the data leak. All funded personally by my shares in the company. The whispers started again, but different this time. Hopeful. Additionally, Cruz stepped forward. We're announcing a profit-sharing program, backdated to include the last quarter. The checks will be in your accounts by end of day. A young developer stood up. But what about the stock price? Our options are underwater now. We're instituting a one-time option repricing, I explained. You won't lose a penny of potential value. We take care of our own. The mood in the room shifted palpably. I could feel the energy changing. One more thing, I added. I'm sure you've seen Marcus's interviews. He's painting himself as a victim, but we have proof of everything he did. The question is, do we release it? Silence again. If we do, it guarantees criminal charges. He'll likely go to prison. The company's reputation might take another hit. If we don't, we focus on rebuilding, on proving him wrong through our success. It's your call, Cruz said quietly. But whatever you decide, we're behind you. I thought about Mom's words about revenge and poison, about Marcus's desperate attempts to hurt more people. Get me a microphone, I said. We're doing a live stream, right now. 20 minutes later, I sat in front of a camera, facing not just our employees, but thousands of viewers online. My name is Denise, and I want to tell you a story about trust, betrayal, and choices. I laid it all out, every detail of what Marcus had done, backed up with documents displayed on screen. But I also talked about the employees he'd hurt, the lives he'd disrupted. We could release proof of criminal activity right now, I said, looking directly into the camera. But we won't, because unlike Marcus, we understand that business isn't about destruction. It's about creation, about building something meaningful. The viewer count kept climbing. So Marcus, if you're watching, keep your interviews. Keep trying to burn it all down. We'll be here, building it back up, stronger than ever. I announced our new employee programs, our commitment to ethical business practices, our plans for growth. The stock price started ticking up in real time as I spoke. After the stream ended, Cruz showed me his phone. Look at this. Blarsh Trust Denise is trending. The narrative's shifting. My phone buzzed. A message from Charlotte. Mom saw your stream. She's proud of you. So am I. Then another message came through from Marcus. This isn't over. I showed it to Cruz, who smiled. Actually, I think it is. Look. Breaking news flashed across the TV screen. Federal authorities investigating offshore accounts linked to corporate fraud. The tide had turned. Marcus had tried to burn it all down, but from the ashes, something better was rising. He's ready to talk, Charlotte said, standing in my office doorway, at the Federal Detention Center. I looked up from the quarterly reports I'd been reviewing. Our stock had not only recovered, but hit new highs. Why now? The prosecutors offered him a deal, but apparently he'll only take it if you agree to meet with him first. Cruz, who'd been quietly working at the conference table, closed his laptop. You don't owe him anything. I know, I said, standing up, but I need to end this, for all of us. The detention center was cold and sterile. Marcus sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, the past month of federal custody evident in his haggard appearance. You look well, he said flatly. Success suits you. What do you want, Marcus? He leaned forward, chains clinking. To understand. You could have destroyed me completely, released everything. Why didn't you? Because I'm not you, I replied simply, and because Mom taught us better than that. He flinched at the mention of Mom. How is she? Cancer-free. No thanks to you. I never meant, he started, then stopped. That's not true. I meant everything I did. I saw an opportunity and I took it, just like you taught me. I never taught you to steal or betray family. No, he admitted. That was all me. He slid a paper across the table. This is my confession, complete and detailed. The prosecutors get it if you sign this agreement not to pursue additional civil charges. I studied the document. Charlotte told me about the deal they offered you. 5 years instead of 20. He nodded. I'll lose my law license either way. Everything I worked for, gone. Like what you did to me? Yeah, he said quietly. Karma's a bitter pill, right? I signed the paper. This ends now, Marcus. No more games, no more revenge. Why? He asked again. You won. Why show mercy? Because carrying hatred is exhausting, and I have better things to do with my energy. Back at the office, I found the team gathered for our daily meeting. Julio was presenting growth projections that would have seemed impossible a month ago. The employee ownership program is showing amazing results, he reported. Productivity is up 40%. And the new mobile payment system? I asked. Sarah, the developer, beamed. Launch date set for next week. Beta testing exceeded all expectations. Speaking of expectations, Cruz interrupted, there's something we need to discuss. He nodded to Christine, who pulled up a familiar logo on the screen. Morrison Digital. The board reached out, Cruz explained. They're interested in a merger, for real this time. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. A chance to reclaim what was stolen, but also a risk of reopening old wounds. What do you think? I asked the room. Allison spoke first. The technology synergies make sense, and most of our old team is still there. It's poetic justice, Julio added, building something bigger than either company could be alone. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Coming to the office, bringing lunch for everyone, time to celebrate. Celebrate what? I texted back. Life, she replied. Family, second chances. I looked around at my team. No, my family. Cruz, who'd become more than just an ally. Christine and Julio, who'd stood by me through everything. Allison and Sarah, representing dozens of employees who'd trusted in a new vision. Schedule the merger talks, I decided. But this time we do it right, together. Mom arrived with enough food to feed an army. As everyone gathered in the break room, she pulled me aside. I saw Marcus today, she said, before you did. And? He's finally learning what you already knew, that true strength isn't in destroying things, but in building them. Cruz joined us, handing me a glass of champagne. To new beginnings? To karma, I corrected, raising my glass, and to choosing what kind we want to create. The room filled with laughter and conversation, plans and possibilities. Through the windows, I could see the city skyline where somewhere my old company waited to become part of something new, something better. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Charlotte. Just left Marcus. He asked me to tell you thank you, and he's sorry, for real this time. I showed the message to Mom, who smiled and squeezed my hand. Now that's karma I can believe in. Looking around at everything we'd built from the ashes of betrayal, I finally felt the last weight lift from my shoulders. Marcus had tried to take everything from me, but in doing so, he'd given me something far more valuable, the chance to build something truly meaningful, surrounded by people who understood that success without integrity was no success at all, no success at all, no success at all, no success at all, no success at all.